everyone. Welcome to Red versus Red. I am the TheSaffronMan. This is Sporadiclese, and this is our segment of For or Against, where we're going to come up with a couple of statements here. We're going to talk about both sides, and hopefully you can make your decision whether you agree with them or not, right? So the first one that I've got for us this week, Sporadiclese. So I'm going to be for this week. You are going to be against. The first question I have for you is: United won't finish in the top half of the table. So you are against this week, so give it a start and tell me why we will finish in the top half of the table, considering we've just seen us lose against Forest.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that the season's not over yet, and top half of the table is not something that is completely unattainable.
We're 13th
Right?
right now.
We are 13th right now, right? So we're not in the relegation zone, and so we have a little bit of hope. Um, I think that, again, the players look different. The attitude looks different under Ruben Amorim than it has in the past with Erik ten Hag. I think that it's really just a matter of adapting to the system, because you can see that they want it, right? Today was a very good indicator of we want it, it just didn't work. We could not implement. And I think that we do have the capacity. We have all of the parts to be able to execute this this strategy and this style of play. I think the one thing that we are missing is a true left wing back that we very well could be seeing the likes of Alphonso Davies coming in January. I would love to see that. He's somebody that I advocated for over the summer. Regardless, it's just going to take a little bit of time to adapt. I know that, we've said it time and time again, it's going to take time to do X, Y, Z. And the issue is we're now having to break down everything that Erik ten Hag created so that we can rebuild from scratch everything that Ruben Amorim wants to create. But you see them out there fighting for it, and we saw that today for sure. The heads didn't drop whenever we went down. We said, okay, let's go get this. And, even whenever we were down 3-2, we were down 3-2 for a significant portion of that game, and we still were going out there trying to get it, trying to push, and trying to get that third goal to equalize. It just didn't happen. It's not that we didn't have the opportunities. We are still working on ironing that stuff out. But it's going to come, and I think it's going to come sooner rather than later. I think we've seen a lot of good glimpses of what this team can do. And so, yeah, I think all of that considered, we are going to finish top half of the table. That means 10th place. We're not even, how many points are we even off 10th place? I can't imagine that it is very much.
2 points, but the people above us have a game in hand.
Okay.
So it could be 5.
Okay, it could be 5. It might not be 5. But still, I think that's not an unreasonable amount to make up. We were just talking about how, we were, a couple weeks ago, we were only 4 points off of 4th place in Manchester City. So, and we were optimistic about that. So 5 points against the likes of like a Bournemouth. Yeah, absolutely.
But when I look at these teams, I'm sorry to kind of cut you up, but I'm looking at everyone.
Well, you can go ahead and make your argument now.
So Newcastle 12th, Tottenham 11th, Bournemouth 10th, Fulham 9th, 8th Brighton, 7th Brentford, 6th Villa, 5th Forest, 4th City, 3rd Arsenal, 2nd Chelsea, 1st Liverpool. Every single one of those teams are playing better football than us. Why we are not guaranteed anything in this league. It's not a foregone conclusion that we're going to find form and all of a sudden start beating these teams that are playing better football than us. Like every year, apart from this season, you would expect Manchester United to beat Nottingham Forest and Brentford and Brighton and Fulham and Tottenham and Newcastle. It's just not guaranteed anymore. We need to kind of wake up a little bit and say, look, we are in this position. We are a mid-table team as things stand, and the only thing that we've done well over the last few years is won a couple of trophies like the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. In the league, we've been proper shocking, honestly, and we're not setting any kind of trailblazers. But again, every single team above us are playing better football, scoring more goals. Our goal difference is absolutely shocking in comparison to everyone else that's above us. So it's scary. but it's reality. It's like we are not ready to compete in the Premier League, and it's going to take time. I don't think we will. Maybe we compete in the Premier League next season once Amorim's had a transfer window or two. He's had a summer. He's had a summer group to get the players training at the training camp and everything else. Maybe a couple of extra signings they want, but that's not this season. Here and now, like I mentioned in the podcast that we've just done, I say give up on the Premier League this season. Focus on those cups that we're in. We've got Arsenal in the FA Cup. That's going to be tough. But if we win that, we have to focus on the FA Cup again this season. If we don't win that, we have to focus on the Europa League this season because that's going to get us into the Champions League, right? And therefore, we don't need to really focus on the league too much if we're going to focus on the Europa League and getting the... But then, having said that, we're mid-table in the Europa League as well. So it's not really much we can do about it. But yeah, I think I'm personally come to the reality. You know, usually when we do these for or against, you know, we say these things despite what we feel or what our opinions are. After watching Nottingham Forest today, I've come to the realisation that everyone else is playing better football above us. We're guaranteed nothing. We're not scoring the goals. We're not defending the goals. We're making mistakes in every area of the pitch in defence, midfield and attack. What information do we have that's going to think, yeah, we're going to finish top half of the table? Newcastle the 12th. They were challenging last season. Tottenham were challenging last season. Like, it's not just us that are underperforming in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest the 5th. Brentford the 7th. Fulham are 9th. Like, these are all teams that are overperforming this season, and there's been a little bit of a switch around. Like, the top 4, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, City, makes sense. We should be in and amongst that, but we're not. I just don't think we're at that level. This season is a write-off. Focus on the cups. Get some players in. Get some players out. Get the training done. Top half of the table is not guaranteed.
I wanna respond, but I just don't know what to say. I just don't. And I hate that, honestly.
I hate it too,
really,
man.
I hate it.
I hate it, but that's unfortunately the reality that we're in, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to talk goal difference, because you did mention goal difference,
yep.
I think the only thing that I can talk about really is goal difference. Outside of the top 4, the only team that has above a +3 goal difference is Tottenham, and they're in 11th place with a +13, mind you, on goal difference. They're the 4th best team in the Premier League.
But they've just had a real stinker of run of games of late. Like, you remember before we got Amorim, people were talking about Postecoglou coming to United. There were rumours, right, that he might get a move to a big club. Now there are rumours that he might be getting the sack. So he's had a real swing of fate over the last few weeks. So, but they had a real good start to the season. But I don't know. But yeah,
it's one of those things. Like, goal difference is not going to be indicative of where you're at in the table, right? I think it's going to be a struggle, and you know, any time that you have to sack a manager in the middle of the season, it's hard. It's tough. You know, a lot of the times we have seen an uptick for a little while. It's not prolonged, right? So like whenever Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came on, we had a few good weeks, but that was it, right? It was just a few good weeks. And so, you know, we had all of the Ruud van Nistelrooy going undefeated. We had, 7 points out of the first 3 games that we got, that we had for Ruben Amorim. And now it's reality starting to settle in. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard to kind of get our bearings and adapt the system. I don't think that he's got everybody that he wants in the places that he wants. You know, there's... the left wing back position that I think needs a bit of love. He's not got the kind of striker that he wants to have. These defenders are not his defenders. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to watch, and it's going to be hard to commentate on. But here we are doing a podcast for just that reason.
Well, I thought whilst you're coming to terms with reality, I'd just go ahead and put the green on for 4 because it is going to be tough.
I'm not going to argue that.
And I've just thought of a 4 against for next week as well, so stay tuned for that. RedVsRed will finish above United this season. We will see, but that's going to be crazy. They're like a few points behind, but I don't know, man. RedVsRed has got that thing. He's going to get Leicester moving and scoring. But hey, we'll talk about that next week. Let's move on for the next question for now. And that one is... Martinez will re-find form in New Year. So we just talked about Martinez. He's not finding his form at the moment since he's come back from injury. Is he going to re-find the form in the New Year, i.e., January 1st until the end of the season? Are we going to see a revitalized, aggressive, in-form Martinez in the second half of the season?
I mean, I don't think so. I think that this is an entirely new system for him. After he's used to the Ajax way, right? He's used to the Erik ten Hag way, and he himself had some okay performances in that, but he wasn't phenomenal, right? I think that we kind of wrote him off at the very beginning. Then he had a very good showing, and then he just kind of teetered off a little bit. And he has been a very regular, consistent name on the team sheet, but now with so many center backs and us needing rotation in that position, he's not going to be able to play week in, week out. It is, again, in a new system that he's not entirely used to. And so I don't think it's guaranteed that he's going to refine form. You mentioned it even earlier in the podcast. Since he's come back from injury, he has not looked great. It's gonna take a lot for him to find the type of form, that he had whenever he first came over to Manchester United, which was actually fairly decent. And so it's just given everything that's going on with injury, with a new system. With a formation that he's entirely unaccustomed to, I just find it difficult to say that he's going to refine form. I think he might not play poorly, but I don't think that being in form is something that we can guarantee from Martinez in the new year.
So just to kind of piggyback off what Sporadiclese is saying as well there, we've been talking about players that are square pegs in round holes, that aren't fitting the system, that are out of form. Like Delot is not living up to expectations. He's not effective defensively or offensively or whatever. But people that aren't involved in the system, that aren't going to work out, that aren't playing well, that aren't in form, they're most likely probably going to be sold either in January or summer. So if you're saying that he's not going to find form in the new year, I'm worried that he's going to be sold in the summer. But I do believe that he is going to refine that form in January. I think, at the start of the season, we've seen him do some strange things, like that 2-footer tackle, and he's been involved in a couple of other things. Like, I think mentally something might be going. Maybe he's just struggling to adapt to the system. Maybe he's got an argument with a missus or a teammate, or he's not quite getting along with something. Maybe something's affected him, but there's always a player there, and there's not like any comment that Graham Souness can make that will stop him believing in himself and trying to be a better player. And I know Graham Souness is absolutely loving today because he's going to say that he's too small to be a defender, this, that, and the other. He is a Staffordshire Terrier when he gets going, and he is someone that you will not want to play against when he's in that form. And he's like, I called him a mini Goliath earlier, and he is that. Like, he plays like he's 7 foot tall, apart from corners. But when he's on the ball,
apart from whenever it's an aerial duel,
but he does. He's got that arrogance and aura about him, right? He's a bully, and I like that. I like the fact that he can do all of these things. I think it's just a couple of small things that may be going on behind the scenes that might be affecting his performances on the pitch. But I absolutely believe that he will sort himself out in the second half of the season. I think De Ligt, Martinez and Yoro is a fantastic back three. This is the first time they played together really as a three or started together. give that back 3 time, like the next 6 months, I think we're going to see different versions of De Ligt, Martinez, and Euro, and I think they're all going to shine and become one solid unit. That's my hope, and that's my dream, and that's kind of my vision. But but if that doesn't happen, he could well be sold come January if he doesn't fit the system. But again, I believe in his aggression and his professionalism and his ability as a defender. So I'm positive that he will sort himself out on a personal level before the end of the season. There's not a doubt in my mind.
I mean, if he does find form, it's probably going to be in the latter stages of the season, at which point it will be moot. I don't think he's going to get sold. I think even if he does take a while to find his form, which I think he will.
But if he's a key part in us winning the Europa League or something, right?
I mean, he's still one of our top 3 defenders.
Oh, he's a key player for us, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So, like, you look at Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans, I love the guy. He's been an absolute, unit for us at Manchester United throughout the years. But he's not, he's also not played in a back 3. I don't think he's going to really stay for that long. Maguire's the only person with experience in the back 3. De Ligt, he's going to take some time. He's still has not, really done it for us.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think De Ligt has let us down. For what I think De Ligt has been amazing this season. Through all the stuff that we're going through, he has just shown true character and leadership, and he is the glue of our backline, in my opinion.
I think that he has not let his mistakes get to him, but he has continued to make mistakes.
He makes it up. He just throws us. It's like he's on the front line for the army. He just throws himself on these grenades all the time, and I love that about him. But Martinez, do you think he's going to be sold by the end of the season, or do you think he's going to find his form?
Those two are not.
They kind of are. If he doesn't fit the system and he stays out of form for a year, then he's probably going to be sold. So it's
I don't believe that.
So you think
I don't
he
believe
will
that.
refine his form?
No, I did not say that. I think, well, if he does refine it, it's going to be towards the end of the season, whenever he's been able to acclimate to the system, because he's looking very out of his depth, right? He was responsible in the Bodo Glimt issue by being up forward too high, exposing Tyrell Malacia. Today, he could have made a difference on like 2 out of the 3 goals, in my opinion. So it's just going to be tough for him to adapt to what this demand is, because he's going to be asked to be getting forward as well as doing the defending, and that's just a lot to ask of somebody that does not fit that type of role. And so I don't know that I don't see him like immediately finding form in the new year. I can't see it.
I think that's where we differ. In my mind, if he finds the form, he's going to be great. If he doesn't find the form, he's probably going to be gone whilst he still has a value. I don't think we want another Phil Jones or a Luke Shaw on our hands. And
we're already going to have to get rid of Victor Lindelof.
This
Harry
is what
Maguire,
I'm trying to say.
And Johnny Evans.
In January.
It's not going to happen. But that revolution does not happen in January. So you're not going to get rid of half of your center backs. And then say, you know what, let's get rid of 2/3 instead and just sell Martinez and maybe bring on 2 more. You can't run
this is a whole other podcast of a discussion, because
you can't run 3 center backs and only have 4 on your depth chart. That is impossible.
But again, we have youngsters that are coming through the ranks. It might be a bit early, but again, that's another discussion. So what are we going for? Are we going for or against for this one? Are you really saying that Martinez isn't going to find his form? I think the fact that you gave in and said if he does, it's going to be towards the end, I think that might have swung it in my favour.
I don't know. I don't know that I want to just give you this one.
There's no way in my mind that Martinez is going to be out of form for the next 8 months.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Perfect. There we go. That's like, there we go. That's
I'll take it if you want to give it to me.
Sorry, I'll take it back. It's fine. All right. Next question here, Sporadiclese, is best squad depth since Fergie retired? ?
I hate you for this one.
To be fair, when we started, I had no idea who's for or against. That's above my pay grade. So I can never remember who's for or against. And when I'm making up these questions, it's by the time I get to the third one, it's like, oh god, what should I do now? I've got the two main ones. Like, oh, let's do that. It makes sense. So I didn't. How about I change it on the fly, right here, right now, to RedVsRed. The whole RedVsRed.
No.
Sure.
We'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
We'll talk about that next week.
Then try and bullshit your way out of this one.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I am a master of that. Okay, so if you have squad depth, then you tend to rank higher in the table. And our best finish of the in the Premier League since Ferguson was under Jose Mourinho when we placed second and won the Europa League. So if you want to talk about having depth, you need to have depth to be able to place that high in the league and to go all the way to the finals and win in the finals. Without depth, you don't do that, right? And you have to have players, even if you have quality depth, they still need to suit the system. And right now, we do not have people that necessarily suit the system, that are going to immediately acclimate to this system to say, oh yes, this is our best squad depth. Squad depth is great until it doesn't fucking work because you don't have the right pieces in place. And so, as of right now, no, we don't. Amarim did not have the opportunity to really look at any of these players and say, oh yeah, I want this one in the summer, I want that one in the summer. Sure, but now we have all of these players that Ten Hag has accumulated, where we're basically Ajax United, and so Ruben Amorim is now having to come into that and try and deal with that and use all of these players in whatever situation is going to be best for them. And it's going to take a lot of time to be able to acclimate all of these players into that and get rid of the ones that cannot or will not be able to acclimate, and bring in players of his caliber that are going to suit his needs. And so if we're not going to finish in the top half of the table, then you cannot say that we have the best squad depth since Fergie retired. There's just no way. I'd love to see you bullshit your way out of that one.
Well, here we go. I will do that. I was just about to say I kind of agree with you, but fuck that. Right, so here we go. So I believe that we've got just because our players aren't performing well doesn't mean that we don't have the squad. When I say squad depth, I look at our defenders. Okay, Johnny Evans, De Ligt, Maguire. Just because we don't play Lindelof, he's kind of there. Lenny Yoro is a generational talent. Mazraoui is probably the best value signing that we've probably ever had, apart from a free transfer that we've got Henrik Larsson or something, which was amazing. Look at our midfield of Kobe Mainoo, Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes. Like, we have more than double a position for every position on the pitch, except for maybe up front where we have just Højlund and Ethan Wheatley, who might be going to Wrexham, by the way. That could be another one of the six. So, look, we have competition for all places except for goalkeeper and up front with Højlund. Everywhere else, it's like you have to perform well in training just to get a game. And when things aren't working well, like we brought off today we brought off, who did we bring off with Fernandes? Who came off with Fernandes?
Was that Ugarte that came?
Yeah, that's right. Time? So we brought off Ugarte and Fernandes, and we brought on Xerxes and Mount. And that's not even, Mount is going to take a few more months to get up to speed, and Xerxes started to score a couple of goals, and he's looking positive again. Even though that match kind of went flat as soon as they came on, like on paper, this is probably one of the strongest squads that we've had in a long time. Like Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund. On paper, we should be like scoring goals all day long, and even though it's not happening, on paper, this is a really strong squad. And when we're talking about squad, we're talking about the 25 players that are signed in. If we're talking about club depth, like we have the most amazing youth academy going, and there are players coming through all the time that could step up into the first team at a given notice at any point. And some of them are probably going to do that. Obi Martins literally just signed a new professional contract, and people are begging him to start getting some minutes. So Kone will probably get minutes next year. We've got Godwill Kakonki is going to get some. There's so many of them that will be fringe players in the next 12 months. And they're going to have to start taking over of some of these guys. And I don't know how that's going to happen until we make a couple of sales. But my point is, form isn't a good barometer of how good our squad depth is, in my opinion. And the fact that we've got challenges for positions all over the pitch, again, except for up front and except for in goal, our bench is probably the best bench that we've had in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I can't remember a better time where we've had the strongest bench. Usually it's like, we bring on this youngster, or this guy's going to get, Ethan Wheatley's going to have a little, Toby Collier's going to have a little go. Like, we've got players coming out of our ears at the moment, and that's we're in the same league as Chelsea. So I don't know. I think I'm very happy with the strength of our squad. We're just in a transitional period at the moment where form isn't necessarily a guarantee because everyone's at school again, pretty much. They're all trying to learn a new system, and they're all trying to learn something different from what they've known previously. And they can't do that on the training pitch when they're playing a game every 3 days because you've got to travel, and they might have one training set. That's why they're training at the beginning of matches, like we talked about. They're trying to, any time they've got to spend together. In the dressing room, they've got chairs and TVs installed. Like, they're trying to make the most of every minute that's available to them because they're under pressure to try and get this system right. So, yeah, form isn't a good barometer for this, in my opinion. But on paper, I think we have one of the strongest squads that we've had since Fergie retired. And you've got to remember, when Fergie was, we had Tevez, Ronaldo, Berbatov, Rooney. We had 4 or 5, 6 strikers, 4 or 5 wingers. Like, we had amazing kind of depth, as well as the youngsters coming through. And I think we're starting to get back to that point. And just the final point, we've had numerous managers that have left recently. Like, we have a squad that is basically the leftovers of previous managers over the 5 years. So we have a conglomeration of all these players that are the previous managers' favourites, and I think we're going to have to the same again. I think some of them we haven't been able to get rid of for price range or wages or whatever. But I couldn't imagine our squad at the moment being much stronger in depth. I don't know how that could happen.
I mean, look, if this was, FC 24, sure, I'd love to have this squad. This squad would be perfect for that. The issue being, though,
I think it's FC 25 now, isn't it?
Is it 25? See, I don't even play that anymore, unfortunately. I haven't played since like 2013. But minor details. I think that form is important when you're talking about squad depth. I would definitely argue that. If you can make that same argument about whether or not a player is world class, which you're making the exact opposite argument as you were making then, saying that form is extremely important on whether or not you're world class, then it's also important whenever you're talking about your squad depth. Absolutely it is. If you don't have the ability to switch out Bruno Fernandes for somebody else and come on and have the same threats in attack, that is not squad depth.
Let me give you an example. I would rather have an average form Marcus Rashford than an in-form like Evan Ferguson or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, Rashford is just that better player, no matter how much of in-form or out-of-form he is. He's always going to be that better pedigree of player. Do you know what I'm saying?
And well, then he needs to show it. He absolutely needs to show it.
We've talked about why they're not showing it, though, because of what's happening within the club. I'm just trying to say that regardless of form, the players we have in our squad are vastly superior to many other squads in the league. We're just not getting the best out of them at the moment, you know?
And this squad depth left us in 11th to 13th place whenever our last manager was sacked. And so, again, you can't make an argument that, oh, this is the best, right, if you're playing the worst. Those two things need to be correlated to a high degree, right? We had Marouane Fellaini under Jose Mourinho. That was like one of his best performers that he loved to throw on just in like the 80th minute and would just go and grab a goal for absolutely no reason, right? Like he's not somebody
Surely
that you would
grabbing the
peg.
goal is the reason.
What's that?
Surely grabbing the goal is the reason.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about, having an average Marcus Rashford compared to, at the time a high performing Marouane Fellaini, because like let's be realistic, Marouane Fellaini was not at the same level as that like Rashford would be at now, and yet he was more effective in the role that he was
That's
chosen
because he's
for.
2 foot taller than everyone else on the pitch. But it's fine.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, and hopefully everyone else hears what we're both saying. Make your own decision. But yeah, all right. I will give you this one begrudgingly. One, because I don't want to see that frown turned upside down. But I mean, at the same time, it is Christmas, so fuck it. Merry Christmas, buddy. All right, thanks for everyone for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts and opinions, not on the For or Against as well, but our main podcast, which you should go check out. We've got more followers on Rumble now than we have on YouTube, so thanks for everyone showing your support on Rumble. Keep showing that support and hitting that follow button. Everyone on YouTube, you've got some catching up to do. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the notification bell. I'm ready for a Europa League game. You'll probably see me midweek for that match week preview. Sporadiclese, yeah, we'll probably see you on Friday again, all right? Anything else you want to say before we go?
Oh man, this was a tough weekend, but hopefully we can make up for it in the middle of the week before a very very tough match next week, and you will see me again on next Friday. So be looking out for my match preview for the City game.
Yeah, I will be looking for. I will actually turn off PoE 2 to actually watch this preview because that's going to be an interesting one for sure. But anyway, I've been TheSaffronMan. He's been Sporadiclese. We have been Red. Make sure you show your support on all of our platforms, and we'll see you guys real soon. Till then, peace.